In this episode of Flea Market Rescue, I'm going to show you how I took an old bed that I bought from the thrift store and turned it into a gorgeous bench. So you ready? Let's dive into this week's project. I bought an old bed at the thrift store last winter. I always wanted to make a bench with it, and I just never got around to finishing it. This is as far as I got. And there it sat. That is until about a week and a half ago when I realized, you know what, I have a vintage market coming up and I really need to finish this. So I have this bed frame here. We're going to make this into a cute little bench. I already have the sides cut and they're just going to kind of butt up along here and same on the other side. I think this is going to be super cute. First, we need to drill the holes through the back so that the sides can be screwed in. First, we're going to start by pre-drilling some holes. I've already started one on the back. Basically, what I've done is hold the side panel up, and then I can see where I need a screw to be attached, and we're pre-drilling the holes so that the wood doesn't crack, and it's easier for the screw to go in. Now you want to line up your side panel with the bed frame. We're going to drill through the bed frame again and into the side panel. Now you should see your mark from the drill on the side panel. You're going to take your drill and drill into that hole, making it a little deeper. This will allow for a screw to easily go in. Now I'm going to line up the side panel again so that I know where to drill the bottom hole. Now let's drill that hole through the bottom of the bed frame. So we have our top hole drilled and we just got through the bottom part, and then on this side here we have the top part drilled, and now we need to drill the bottom here. I think I'm going to go ahead and put a screw in the back here just to hold that in place so that when I use the drill to go through this hole here, that we know that both of them are going to line up. So if I get this one secure, it'll just be better. So I'm using 3-inch screws, and I'm going to screw this into that little side panel. So I'm just going to start this one here. It makes it easy because we already pre-drilled our holes. I'll line this up here. And as you can see, that stands up now on its own, and we're gonna just take the drill and go through that. Now we're gonna put a screw in there. Now we have the top screw in and we have the bottom screw in. So now we have one side done and we just need to do the other side. And now I'm just repeating the process with the other side. Now we have both sides that are standing. It's coming together. Now we just need to build a frame for our bench. So now it's time to measure. If we need to take a small hair off, that's okay too. But this looks like a good place to mark. We're going to cut this board and go from there. As you can see, it fits perfectly. I think that we need to raise it up a little higher because we don't want our bench seat to sit so low. But before we do that, I'm going to cut another one of these for the front. Now that we have both boards cut, we need to figure out how high our bench is going to be. I measured my patio chairs and they're 15 inches from the ground. I used this bucket and that is like the perfect height. It makes it 15 inches tall. That bucket will hold the board in place while I drill holes on the side of the side panels that are going to go into this 2x4. Okay, so I have drilled one hole here and we're gonna drill one more right here just for added protection. We really want this bench to be very sturdy. So again, we're gonna just do one more hole here. Okay, it looks like my battery is dead here on my drill. So it's getting dark, it's getting late. We're just gonna carry this project on tomorrow. We'll finish this whole bench and it's gonna look awesome. Okay, so we already cut this board and now I cut a duplicate board here like this. That's gonna go in front. And now we need to do our little sideboards. We're gonna measure for that. By placing this board in the back and moving that one up to the front, I'll be able to measure in between both of those boards and that will give me the dimensions of the sideboards. So I'm just measuring how long our center boards need to be and I'm marking that and it looks like this is where we're going to need to cut. So we cut this board, we have the back board, and now I have cut 3 sideboards. One will go in the middle, one will go on the side, and then one other one will go on the other side. Now if you remember, I drilled some holes through this side here of the bench. We're going to do that the same for this side and that side because it's just going to be a lot easier for us to just assemble this. So I'm going to pre-drill some holes and then we're going to build this frame over here and then we'll put it in and screw it in. It'll just make it so much easier. So that's what we're going to do right now. I'm going to pre-drill holes on the side like I started the other day. Okay, so we have our pre-drilled holes from the other day. Then we have our other pre-drilled holes that we just did. And now I'm just repeating the process of drilling the holes on the other side. Now I'm taking the boards and I'm assembling them how I would want them to be if they were completely built. Now that we have them exactly how we want them to be, we're going to drill a hole through the 2x4 so that we can put a screw in to hold these 2x4s in place. When drilling a hole for assembly, make sure that your hole is far enough away from your other pre-drilled holes so there's no problems later getting the screws in. You can see that this hole does not conflict with the other two holes that were pre-drilled. Now we're just going to screw those boards together. I continued the process all the way around, but when I got to the center boards, I put 2 screws in because I want that to be really supported and it will not have the support of the sideboards. After I had the frame assembled, I placed it in where the bench was going to be, and all I needed to do was put a few screws on each of the sides through those pre-drilled holes. But before that, I want to teach you a little trick so that you don't see the screws on the side of the sideboards. I'm just taking my Dremel and making a little more of a deeper opening so that the screw head will lay flat in there. We'll put a little putty over the top and you'll never see it. See, that head is just going to lay really flat in there, and same with this one here. And then we'll just put putty over it, and again, you won't even see it. Okay, so we have added our framed in structure, and we're going to add the boards on top. To do that, we're going to need to measure. I needed 2 of these boards to make the bench, so I bought that at Home Depot and I took them home and cut them. My blade wasn't long enough to cut this completely through, so I had to flip it over and cut the rest. After I was done cutting the 2 boards, I took the first board and laid it on top of our structure. Then I took the second board and I proceeded to butt that up right next to the first board. I had to push down a little on it because it was quite snug, and then afterwards I took a hammer and just kind of tapped it in place. I had some side railings that came with this bed, and I thought, you know what, that would look perfect to use one of those right in the front there. It would just give it a nice finished edge. So I measured the front of the bench so that I knew how long I would have to cut the railing. We're going to take one of the side rails and we're going to use it as the front panel, which will give it a more finished look. So right now I'm just going to cut the ends off that have the hardware so that we can just have a nice even tight board. Once I got that cut, I put the front board in place. I then took my nail gun and nailed everything in place. I then took some putty and I covered up those holes in the screws. I use this plastic wood. I love it. It works awesome on furniture. I'll leave a link in the description if you want to get some. It really works good. Now I'm just going to let that dry and then we'll come back and sand it. Okay, I let that dry and now we're going to sand it. I'm also going to sand the new boards so that they're nice and smooth. Then I'll work my way to the sides and then the headboard just to kind of make sure all that is kind of sanded up, and then we'll go on to paint. I bought this paint at Home Depot. It's color matched to the Annie Sloan graphite paint, and it's the Scuff Defense by Behr. And here it is. It made it to the vintage market and was one of the first things to sell. I think it came out beautiful, and I'm almost sorry that I sold it. We had a U-Haul full of stuff, and we were just non-stop. It was an awesome show, and thank you so much to Chic and Unique. They put on an awesome vintage market. And we'll definitely be back for their fall show on October 24th. If you like this episode of Flea Market Rescue and you want to see more episodes like this, make sure to subscribe to my channel and ring the bell. I'm Kelly Sherry, and this has been Flea Market Rescue.